Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from Atlanta and the U.S. Men's National Team Training Camp. Please accept our apologies for the delay in today's media availability. We had a training session that went long today, so we appreciate your patience and understanding. Today we're joined by Brenden Aaronson and Sebastian Berhalter. Just a couple notes, again, for those of you here in Atlanta, tomorrow training at 11 a.m., open for the first 15 minutes. And tomorrow afternoon, 2:45, well, right now it's 2:45. I will give you an update in the morning whether or not we anticipate the training session to go long and if we need to update the schedule. But tomorrow's participants will be Joe Scally and Gio Reyna.
Of course.
First question for Sebastian. When you think of Joe Scally and Gio Reyna, what makes you laugh?
Funny duo. They're just funny together.
If you have a question, you can virtually raise your hand, and we'll begin with Paul Tenorio from The Athletic.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Brenden and Sebastian. Appreciate you guys' time. If both of you could take this on, that'd be great. I've talked to a few players from past cycles, going way back to 06, and before that, Sebastian, I actually talked to your dad about this too as a player, the last camp before a World Cup cut down, and just how maybe sometimes the intensity feels a little bit different even in training. There's a little bit more edge to it. I wonder if you guys have felt that at all, if you've had kind of your own mentality of how to kind of fight those demons of wanting to impress but wanting to kind of play within yourself at the same time. Like, how do you approach this last camp knowing the decisions on the other end of it? Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's just, we're taking it one day at a time. I don't think we're getting ahead of ourselves, and the guys are putting in the work. It's been a good couple of days, and we're just trying to build on each day. So, no, I don't think it's been guys getting antsy too much. I think we believe in what we're doing, and we want to stick to that.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think the group has been really focused, really ready to go. I think what I see most of is we're taking these two games really seriously. Two really good opponents, so we know how we're going to have to match up against them and be on our A game. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to the game. I can say everybody's really focused, really wanting to do well, of course for themselves, but also for the team. And I think it's a great start to camp.
Next will be Jonathan Tannenwald from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everybody. Brenden, no shock that this will be for you, I guess. Look, along with this, there's, Leeds is trying to stay up. And, when you left town, they're in 15th, I think. They're above water, and have been above water, but it's still a little close. And what's in your mind in that regard, even though obviously it's been put aside for a week and a half now?
Yeah, I think, it's always tough because I think, you leave club and then you switch your mindset to national team. But yeah, that's kind of where my head's at. Like I always tell everybody, my game is based on, I take day after day. I focus on the day of how I can get better and go from there. So my full focus with the national team at the moment. But yeah, at Leeds, we've been doing, I think we've had a great season for a team that's come up to the Premier League. Yeah, we're sitting above the relegation zone, which is great. I think we have a really good run of games going in where we just need to perform and get the points that we need. But I believe in the group. I believe in the group that we have, and I know that we can achieve the goal.
Next will be Ryan Talmadge from Goal.com.
Thank you, Michael. And this one's for both of you. When anyone tries to simplify rosters or roster spots or depth charts or anything like that, everyone just kind of tries to simplify it and this player over this player, this player. But the reality is it's a puzzle piece, and that all of you guys are very different and all of you bring something different to the table. When you are competing in these types of competitions against guys that are so different than you in some cases, what is that like, and how do you kind of mentally compare yourself, and how do you kind of go through that process knowing that everyone kind of brings something a little bit different to the table?
Yeah, I think it's easy to compare, and you want to look at other guys, but at the end of the day, we're all representing our country, and we're all here to win games for our country. So, there is that competitive spirit that you want to play, and you want to do your best and just show that you can do it. But at the end of the day, again, I think you're playing for your country, and all that kind of goes away.
Yeah, for sure, the same. I think it's you come into camp and you can maybe think, you compare this, compare that, but I think, everybody's professional enough to know that, they're confident in themselves, they know what they bring to the table, they know their own qualities, what they can do on the pitch. So I think that's kind of where everybody's at, and I think, like Seb said, the quality of training has been really good. The intensity of training has been really good. So, we need to continue to just connect and keep getting better, and really look forward to these 2 big games.
We'll go to Ron Blum from the Associated Press.
Guys, thanks for doing this. Brendan, what did you learn 4 years ago from those friendlies against Japan and Saudi Arabia and that camp right before the roster was picked on dealing with the situation and the pressure? And also, looking back closer, you've had playing time and struggle for playing times with clubs. What did you learn also in those experiences that you had to step up and how to grind through?
Yeah, I think 4 years ago when we played Japan and Saudi, that feels like a long time ago now, but yeah, looking back at those games, I think did we tie against Saudi? I think we tied against Saudi and lost to Japan. I mean, Japan was really good on the day when we played them, but looking back at it, I think, I feel like we were probably a little bit under pressure. I think we had a lot of guys that were young. It was our first World Cups together. You wanted to get on the team, so that was always in the back of your head too. But yeah, I think that we've grown a ton. There's a lot of guys that were a part of that one, and now we're in this one, and have taken a lot of things from the last World Cup and the last World Cup and the camp before that. So I think we know what it's like, and that's really great to have that. And then yeah, I mean, throughout the time of the last 4 years, the ups and downs, going to Union Berlin, starting with Leeds, going to Union Berlin, and then going back to Leeds. I mean, of course, there's been ups and downs, but that's football. You got to get through them. Of course, I've had downs, but I'm proud of myself of how I've stuck through it, and I kept fighting, and that's something that I'll always do. And yeah, I think it's shaped me into the player that I am now.
And then just following up, after that camp, what was it like not knowing and waiting for the phone call or email from Greg? And describe the situation when you found out the news and what was it like?
Yeah, well, it was definitely one of the best days of my life when he called, but I can remember before, it was, that the moment of, you're second guessing yourself, you're thinking to yourself, like, did I do enough, like this, that, but, you can only stay confident in those situations and just know that, I put myself in the best position, and that's what I try to think to myself, and then when you finally get the call, it's, one of the best feelings in the world, and it's something I'll always remember.
Okay, stand by for just 1 second, folks. We accidentally...
Should we press it?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Brendan, would you mind just repeating the answer?
Oh, was the answer? I said, geez, what did I say? Oh, yeah, about the phone call. Yeah, it was definitely, when I got the phone call, it was definitely one of the best days of my life. It was nerve-wracking before. Of course, it's going to be like that because, you could second-guess yourself, this, that. But, I was confident, and when I got the phone call, it was definitely one of the moments I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Next will be Lakin Littman from Fox.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you, Sebastian and Brendan, for doing this. If you could both answer, that would be wonderful. Weston has obviously been having a great year, and I want to know from the both of you, what's it like training with him and being around him? Have you observed anything different about his approach, or do you sense any kind of change in his overall vibe now versus maybe what he was like in the past? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I haven't played with him too much, but, he was one of my, my role models, my idols growing up. I've been watching him for the last, 6 years almost now, and yeah, to see what he's doing over at Juventus is inspiring, especially someone playing on MLS to know, similar to Brendan, that, guys can do it over there and they can perform and can do well. So for me, it's just, it's really cool, and it's special to see, American guys just in general, do well over there.
Yeah, I think, I've been with Weston a long time now, and we played at club together, of course, for that short period. And yeah, what I've seen from Weston so far, I mean, he's full of confidence, of course. He's having a fantastic season, and I couldn't be happier for him. Whenever, like Seb said, we get to watch the games of, fellow national team players and stuff like that, it's always great to see how well he's doing in Champions League and also in the Serie A. So, yeah, I couldn't be happier for him. He's a fantastic guy, and, he deserves it, and he's come to camp with a lot of confidence, and, it's great to see a Weston with all that confidence.
Next is Pardeep Khatri from CBS Sports.
Hi, this one's for Brendan. You were talking about it a little bit, comparing, the 2022 cycle to the 2026 cycle, but I'm curious from your perspective, what do you feel has changed for yourself going from, playing in your first World Cup and maybe hopefully playing in your second, and what do you think has changed for you and, you know, the more experienced members of the group as a whole?
Yeah, for me personally, like I said, you know, from the last World Cup, of course, I was young. I think I was like 21 when I went to the first World Cup, or 22 maybe. It was something like that. But you know, you're young. You know, I was more naive in the football terms of things, and you know, you just learn so much in a 4-year period in professional football. You know, you learn so much. You go through so many ups and downs. So I know mentally I'm much stronger than I was before. So you know and also you know it helps with having a great season, so I got to continue to have that, continue to push on with that, and yeah, just take the confidence that I've been having. And then yeah, with the group, I think, like I said, you know, the guys have, you know, we've been through the World Cup, we've gone through the losses and the wins and all those great things, so you know, it's a great group that's together. And also, you know, the newer guys have come in and they've been fantastic, so I think we need to keep building as a group and yeah, just take the experiences that we had and keep going from there.
Next will be Mike Whitala from Soccer America.
Thank you. This is for both of you. Can you share memories of the first 1 or 2 World Cups you remember watching when you were kids, and whether there were like players that impressed you, and any memories of watching the U.S. at a World Cup when you were a kid?
Yeah, I think, you know, in 06, just running around the hotel and, you know, collecting the Panini stickers was something that was, you know, I didn't really understand what was going on, but I could feel the magnitude and, you know, understood how important it was to my family and, you know, everyone there. And then honestly, I think, you know, being at the 2022 World Cup and, you know, still being young, still being 21, 20 years old, and, you know, seeing those guys perform and, you know, put up performances against England and, you know, just show that, you know, Americans can play soccer. So, you know, I think between those two, it was, you know, kind of made me believe that, you know, that I can be there and you know, that this country can do it.
I'd probably say the earliest memory I would have is the 2010 World Cup. Watching that, you know, remember hearing the horns, you know, I don't know what you call them. They were some kind of, yeah, it's something like that. But they were, you know, like just remembering that tournament, the magnitude of it, just like being able to live through. I remember they came with a video game about it. It was just like, you know, at that time it was huge, and you know, you can feel how people thought about it, and you know, Spain winning the World Cup and USA having a fantastic run in it. It was awesome to see and something I'll never forget.
Next will be Donald Wine.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, gentlemen, Donald Wine, Stars and Stripes FC. This question is for either of you. Looking ahead to the games this weekend against Belgium and Portugal, obviously 2 top 10 matchups. I know you guys are focused a lot on what you are trying to do within this last camp, but those are great midfielders over there. What do you think about that challenge, and what about it excites you?
Yeah, I think those are the moments you relish, you know, when you play against, you know, some of the best in the world. And, you know, similar to that Uruguay game, I think we had, you know, some of the best midfielders in the world with, you know, Ugarte and Bentancur. So, you know, those are the games you want to be in, and you want to play in those games, and you want to test yourself. You know, you want to go out there and fight and compete and show that you belong. So, you know, I think for the both of us, it'll be a good test. And I think, you know, Brenden plays more of those guys week to week. And for me, you know, it'll be a good test to, you know, just go out there and do my thing.
We'll take a few more questions. Continue with Jim Alexander.
Hey guys, Brandon, I still have that video game, the PlayStation 2010 World Cup game,
Yeah.
So I know what you're talking about. But Sebastian, my question is for you. Obviously, it's a unique situation that the previous head coach was your dad. You didn't get to sort of cross each other and play together, but I'm curious, initially when you were brought up by Mauricio, was there any awkwardness or any conversation that you had that, hey, here's the guy that's replacing my dad, I'm the national team coach, or was that never sort of an issue or thing that was ever discussed or brought up?
No, I think from the beginning he made it really clear, you know, that I'm here for a reason, you know, and that he believes in me, and you know, he's watched my games before, and you know, said there's a reason why you're here. So he's done a great job in integrating me and making me feel like, you know, part of the team, like he's done with everyone. So no, I don't think there was any awkwardness, or I think that Gold Cup we had a great group, you know, and I think everyone just kind of bonded, and it was a good time, and yeah, I think, you know, I'm just so happy to be able to play for my country.
Next will be Doug McIntyre.
Thanks, Michael. Hey, guys. Thanks for doing this. I have 2 questions, and yeah, if you could both chime in, I'd really appreciate it. To piggyback on Paul's question, you were both in the fall for a number of camps. I mean, has how, if at all, this camp been different in that regard? Just that we're closer to the World Cup, and to go back to the Gold Cup, Brenden, for you, you didn't play a whole lot in that tournament. Sebastian, you obviously did. Looking back, how did you use that experience to move forward and continue to perform well for your clubs and remain with the national team in the months since? Thanks, guys.
I feel like, it is similar. It doesn't feel like there's this big anxiety over everyone. I feel like, it's similar to the fall camps that, we want to represent our country to the best of our ability. And, there hasn't felt that extra. We've only been training for 2 or 3 days, but there hasn't felt that extra, pressure. And I think Mauricio's told us how much these games mean, but, I feel like he also keeps it real and that, he still wants us to be ourselves and perform. I think we'll Gold Cup.
And then the other thing was about Gold Cup.
Yeah, I just think that was a great, it was the Mauricio's first, real tournament. And I think, even reflecting on it a couple of days ago and how, a lot of those guys from the Gold Cup are still with his team. And, it shows how important that tournament was and, how much trust he put in us. I think that's something we're both really thankful for. And, we're glad we got that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like Seb said, I think this camp in general, I'm not seeing too much different than the other camps in the fall. I think the big gist of it is we've taken these games really, really seriously, even though they're friendlies. We've taken them like they're games, and we treat it like they're an actual game that is at the World Cup. So I think we need to keep that mentality because I think last camp I really felt it in the Paraguay and Uruguay game. Those felt like real matches. I mean, you guys could probably tell from watching the scrap after the game with Alex, and it was just it was so intense, and that's what we need for these next 2 games against Belgium and Portugal. We're going to treat them like this, and get ready for the World Cup. And for me, being a part of that Gold Cup team is something I'll never forget because the group of guys we had there, just the banter that we had throughout the trip, the great times that we had. It's something that you'll look back at your career, and we travel. I think we went to 10 different cities, 12 different cities, so it was crazy. And then for myself, of course, you want to play games, you want to be a part of things, but I treated it as I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to train every day. I worked a lot on my finishing, worked a lot on my just if we were playing games, working on things that I can get better at, maybe ball retention, this, that, and then I lifted as much as I could too. So just taking it like that, and then also helping the guys that were playing on the pitch, I think I've been with the national team for a pretty long time now, so just trying to help the guys and, just do the best I can.
So today we're going to end where we normally start, and I think it's the first time that we've had the chance to acknowledge this as a group, which is to recognize Stephen Goff having been voted the 2026 Colin Jost Media Award winner. Steve has covered 14 World Cups in his career in every MLS season since 1996. So I want to just congratulate Steve on the recognition. And you have the last question for the day.
Thanks, Michael. That's nice. Nice of you, and a nice honor. Hey guys, thanks for your time. I'll make this quick. Brenden, what when Mauricio speaks about building the roster for the World Cup, and he mentions picking the right team, not necessarily the best team, what does that mean, or what does that signal to you and the players?
I think for us it's, of course we listen to what he says and stuff like that, but I think most of us know we go out on the pitch and we just want to play the way that we know how to play. I think when you come to the national team, of course, it's tough. You're in mid-season with your team, it's some people it's at the end of the season, so you're in stressful situations, or with Seb, they just start up with the season, so they are in the swing of things, and then you come together. And I think, the biggest thing for us is why we're here is we played like ourselves. And, I think that's what the coach likes about us. And, so we're just going to go out there, do the best we can for the team, and just be ourselves on the pitch. And I think that's what, will make us a really, really good team.
Congrats, Steven.
Yeah, congrats. Congrats, man.
Thank you to Brenden and to Sebastian and all of you for joining today. Again, tomorrow morning we'll give you an update if there is going to be a change in the immediate availability schedule. As I mentioned, the players will be Joe Scally and Gio Reyna. Thanks for joining, and have a good afternoon.